Hi guys, this is going to be a short tutorial about something called gyres, G-Y-R-E-S. A gyre is basically a large circulation of ocean currents. Okay, and we are going to look at the world's ocean gyres. And this is actually on page 457 in your textbook. You might have already circled two important surface ocean currents on this map, and if you did, that's fine, but we're going to maybe decorate it just a little bit more. So the first thing that you need to realize that we've talked about is that at the equator, winds blow from east to west. So winds move this way, okay? All right, so winds do like so. Okay, maybe I'll do that a little bit darker so you guys can see. All right, so these are your winds. Now, you guys know from the notes from lessons 1 and 2 that winds are what cause surface ocean currents, okay? So the winds are kind of going to get all of this started. We're going to start at the equator so that we know how to turn each of the ocean gyres we're going to draw. So if the winds are blowing from east to west, any surface ocean current that moves away from the equator into the southern hemisphere is going to have to start near the equator, and it's going to have to turn so that it'll take into account that westward wind that's at the equator. So a lot of times you wind up, okay, getting a circulation that looks like this, okay? In the northern hemisphere, you're going to have to turn just the opposite way. Okay, so for instance, here in the southern hemisphere, this is going to be a counterclockwise turn. Does that make sense? It's like you take a steering wheel and you turn it to the left. This is a counterclockwise turn. But this is a large circulation of ocean currents. Okay, so this is considered a gyre. This is a very large gyre. This is the South Pacific gyre because this is the Pacific Ocean. Okay, then you can draw another one. Again, you start with the surface winds that are at the equator. Okay, remember the Pacific Ocean extends over here, but we had to break the map up. So, like so. Okay, got to draw the rest of it kind of in here. And it's going to circulate this way. Again, you start with these arrows and you just turn with them. Okay, so turning this way into the northern hemisphere, this is a clockwise turn, whereas going from the equator going into the southern hemisphere and following those arrows, that's a counterclockwise turn. Okay, but this is a large ocean gyre. This is a large ocean gyre. Remember, part of it's over here. And we have another couple. Okay, again, we have to work off of the arrows for the winds blowing westward along the equator. So the South Atlantic gyre is going to be kind of a loop that looks like this. Go off the arrow. North Atlantic gyre is going to be something like this. We also have one in the Indian Ocean, okay, sort of like so, okay? But all of these are large loops, circulations of ocean water, okay? Now, some of the specific surface currents, like I've said before, are very, very, very important. For instance, the California current on the west coast of North America, the Gulf Stream on the east coast of North America. They're very important, and they have a big effect on what the weather does in those areas, okay? And I think I touched on, when I talked about the Gulf Stream and the California current, for instance, if I took a certain latitude. Let's just say this latitude right here, whatever that is, okay? If I took a location over here on the west coast, that latitude, versus a location over here on the east coast at the same latitude, the east coast location a lot of times is going to be warmer because it is influenced by this warm water current. If I'm looking at the west coast, a lot of times its weather will be a little bit cooler compared to a location over here of the same latitude. Okay, down here, that would be another, let's go to South America. Let's say we're at 30 degrees south down here in South America. Okay, notice that on this side of South America, it's being influenced by these blue cold water currents. And over here on this side of South America, they're being influenced by this warm water that's coming off of the equator because of the way these big circulations turn. Okay, so on the west side, at the same latitude, they're going to have colder weather over here than you're going to generally experience on the east side. Because on the east side, for down here, you're influenced by a warm water current, and over here you're being influenced by a cold water current. Okay, if that makes sense to you guys. So your gyres are your huge circulations, those global circulations in the oceans. And then you have individual surface currents. And the surface currents can be warm or cold. And like I said, depending on whether you are living on the coast near a warm current or living on the coast near a cold current, that can have a lot of influence on your climate. Okay, so just wanted to point that out. Go ahead and maybe draw in your gyres just lightly. Make sure you start off with the westerly winds at the equator, because that kind of gets everything started. And just make sure you write your definition as well. Okay?